Hi, I'm Karl and I'm a writer, he said at the start of his Writers Anonymous weekly meeting. It is a bit of an addiction, isn't it? I suppose I'll tell you a bit about me to start with. I have always written, ever since I was a kid. My first poem was about mushrooms. I think I was 7. It was a school project. And it's never really left me. My mum gave me an insatiable appetite for reading, and that translated into writing. I think writing is the only time that I've ever felt that I was in control of the medium. I dabbled in art, still do, but I wouldn't say I've mastered any of that. Writing, on the other hand, is something that not only do I love doing, but I love the result that you give it to somebody else and they have their own interpretation then from then on. So I suppose that's where that began. What do I write? I write crime fiction. My first novel, called Bless Me Father, came out exactly 3 weeks before COVID-19 struck, so that wasn't fun. You'd think a lot of people would have had time to read, which they did, but very few people were out and advertising, and I didn't know enough about blog groups and blog tours and all the rest of that, so that was an educational process. It's still available on Amazon. It's a gritty crime thriller. Yeah, gritty. It deals with some fairly sensitive material. It's set in Dublin in the late 80s, early 90s. So that'll give you a flavour of what you might expect. And it's about a guard named Eamon. Eamon's going to be taken through the mill. The first book of Eamon's little story is Bless Me Father, but the second one is in train. I've also started, though not finished. Isn't that the same for every writer? You've started but not finished. It's like an episode of my Mastermind. I've started 2 comedy novels. One called Trojan's Hearse, and the other is called Dead Zone Hurleys. One's set in London, and the other one's set in somewhere around Tipperary, where I'm from. I will finish those eventually. Influences. Everyone from Nick Cave to Leonard Cohen to Alan Watts to Kurt Vonnegut, the Beatniks, Allen Ginsberg, Kerouac, Albert Camus, anybody you can think of in that particular line, but also Terry Pratchett. As far as I'm concerned, the man's a god. Let's see, who else, what else? Everything, anything. I'm an avid people watcher. I think that fiction writers are afflicted with the worst case of multiple personality disorder you could possibly ever wish to have, or not have, as the case may be. And I think that as a result, that watching people, learning their stories, watching their reactions, and having those reactions be as varied as possible is what makes good fiction. I also write poetry. I have a couple of hundred. Some are along the lines of personal poetry, and then some are along the lines of unity, community, spirituality, that sort of stuff. And I suppose that leads me nicely into the next bit. The next bit is that when I wrote the book, Bless Me Father, it taught me something. Anybody who read it liked it, and they thought it was a good read, and they thought it was well written. Now, that's only a couple of hundred people so far. You never know. But it perhaps taught me that I could write. And then I got to wondering what I should write. and that, going along with the slant of my life anyway, kind of left me with a direction in mind, and I started writing spirituality, mindfulness, meditation, that sort of stuff. But I wanted to do it from the perspective of the average guy in the street, which is me. Having listened to a lecture in which the terminology was so convoluted and the message so obfuscated by language being twisted and bent into new and interesting shapes, that I just thought, hang on, there has to be an easier, simpler way of doing this. There has to be a way of explaining all of this in such a way that the 5-year-olds in the class will get it. And that's me, I'm the 5-year-old in the class. So I set about writing a new book, which I've just finished. It's out for editing. Oh, and that's another thing. Get yourself an editor. My first book taught me that. Get yourself an editor. So it's called The Art of Acceptance, and it's about learning just to see life clearly. And I think every writer everywhere sees life slightly differently to other people, because we see it from lots of different perspectives. If you've got several characters in a book, then you've got several perspectives. But also, if you've got a historical book, historical novel, or historical factual book, you've got to see the broader picture to find the real truth. And that's universal. So when I wrote this Art of Acceptance, yeah, it was a foray into meditation, mindfulness, self-help, if you will, in an effort to have people see more clearly. But really, it was, we all need to take a stop for a moment and look at things to see the real truth in any situation. That makes for good writing. Writers are good investigators and good students of the human nature. Right, that's almost it for me, because I'm 7 minutes in and I ramble like you would not believe. Yeah, there will be more. I will write more, I will post more to Shop Irish Writers. Lucky to have found the group, I think, and be given the opportunity to waffle on as I do. And that's about it. If you like the spirituality kind of stuff, mindfulness and meditation, The Everyday Mystic, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There are lots of these videos on YouTube. God help you all if you go over there. Bless Me Father is the crime novel. Poor old Eamon is about to get another beating, because I'm starting into the next iteration of that soon enough. And the comedies, well, I think, isn't the world in need of laughter? Don't we need to learn to laugh at ourselves a bit? Because there isn't enough laughter knocking around these days. Certainly not enough irreverence. And if there's one thing I am, it's mildly irreverent. So, nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me here, and I hope to talk to you all again soon.